The glow of Darius Kellen's phone screen burned his exhausted eyes at 2:47 a.m. His 6-year-old daughter Kehlani had finally crashed after 3 hours of fever-induced crying, and he'd been scrolling through dating apps with the desperate energy of a man who hadn't had an adult conversation in 6 months. The apartment smelled like cherry-flavored children's medicine and microwave mac and cheese. His thumb hovered over a message to Sweet Summer 24 on the app. She seemed nice, normal, had mentioned loving kids in her profile. He typed fast, fueled by sleep deprivation and loneliness. "Hey, beautiful, been thinking about you all day. Can't stop imagining what you'd look like in my kitchen tomorrow morning, messy hair and all. Coffee's on me if you're brave enough." He hit send. Then his brain caught up to his thumbs. The message hadn't gone to Sweet Summer 24. It had gone to the last person he'd texted, a contact simply labeled Whitmore CFO, Vivian Whitmore, the CEO of Whitmore Industries, where he worked as a warehouse logistics coordinator. The Ice Queen who'd personally fired 3 managers last month for showing up 6 minutes late. The woman who'd never smiled once in the 2 years since she took over her father's company. He'd texted her 2 days ago about a scheduling conflict with his shift because Kehlani's daycare closed early. She'd replied with a single word, "Noted," and now he'd just sent her the thirstiest message of his entire life. No, 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 no. Darius jumped up from the couch, pacing the small living room. His heart hammered against his ribs. Could he delete it? He checked. Message delivered. Read at 2:49 a.m. She was awake. She'd seen it. His phone buzzed. Unknown number calling. Darius answered with shaking hands. "Hello? Mr. Kellen." That voice, crisp, cold, with the kind of authority that made grown men straighten their posture. "I'm outside your building. Apartment 4C, correct?" Darius rushed to his window and pulled back the curtain. Down on the street, under the orange glow of a streetlight, stood a silver Tesla Model S, and leaning against it, phone pressed to her ear, was Vivian Whitmore herself. She wore a black coat that probably cost more than his monthly rent, her platinum blonde hair pulled back severe and perfect even at 3 in the morning. "Ms. Whitmore, I can explain. That text was meant for someone else. I'm so sorry." "I know it wasn't meant for me." Her voice cut through his panic like a scalpel. "That's why I'm here. We need to discuss your employment status. Immediately. Buzz me up or come down. Your choice." The line went dead. Beautiful souls of the Race Beyond Voices family. You've just witnessed a man's entire world tilt on one accidental text. This isn't just about a mistake. This is about 2 people from different worlds about to collide in the most unexpected way. Drop your location and tell us, have you ever sent a text to the wrong person that changed everything? Your stories fuel our revolution. Share this with someone who needs to know that the most embarrassing moments can lead to the most beautiful transformations. Beyond voices, beyond barriers, beyond limits, we rise together. Darius stood frozen at his apartment door, forehead pressed against the wood, trying to remember how to breathe. Behind him, Kehlani slept peacefully in her princess bedding, completely unaware that her daddy was about to get fired at 3 in the morning. His hand hovered over the doorknob. Maybe if he just didn't answer, Vivian would leave. Maybe this was a nightmare and he'd wake up any second. 3 sharp knocks shattered that hope. "Mr. Kellen, I don't wait." He opened the door. Vivian Whitmore stood in his hallway, looking like she'd stepped out of a magazine spread about powerful women who destroyed men's careers before breakfast. Up close, she was somehow more intimidating. Her gray eyes swept over him, taking in his wrinkled Henley shirt and plaid pajama pants with the hole near the knee. "May I come in?" It wasn't really a question. "My daughter's sleeping." Darius kept his voice low, blocking the doorway. "Whatever you need to say, we can talk in the hallway." Something flickered across Vivian's face. Surprise, maybe? Fair enough. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out her phone, turning the screen toward him. His mortifying text glowed in the darkness. This message, who was it intended for? Does it matter? Darius felt his face burn with embarrassment. It was inappropriate. "I understand if you want to fire me. But can we at least do this during business hours? My daughter has a pediatrician appointment at 9. Vivian studied him with an expression he couldn't read. "You think I drove across town at 3 in the morning to fire you? Didn't you?" "No." She pocketed her phone. "I came to tell you that I'm the one who should apologize." Darius blinked, Had he heard that right? I'm sorry, what? Your text caught me off guard. I've been sitting in my car for 20 minutes trying to figure out how to respond without sounding like exactly who everyone thinks I am. Vivienne's voice dropped lower, losing some of that corporate edge. The truth is, I was awake because I've been reviewing your personnel file. My file? Why? Because 3 days ago, you stayed 4 hours past your shift to help reorganize the entire warehouse system when our computer network crashed. You didn't ask for overtime pay. You didn't complain. You just fixed the problem. Vivienne's gray eyes locked onto his. Then yesterday, you asked for a schedule change because of your daughter's daycare. Most employees would have just called in sick and lied about it. You were honest. Darius had no idea where this was going. Okay? I was planning to offer you a promotion to warehouse operations manager, starting. Salary $68,000, with full benefits and flexible hours for parenting responsibilities. Vivienne pulled out a folded paper from her inside pocket. Then I got your text and realized I'd been staring at your photo in your file for the past hour, trying to convince myself I was just being thorough. The hallway seemed to tilt. I don't understand. The text wasn't as misplaced as you think, Mr. Kellen. Vivienne handed him the paper, a formal job offer, then turned toward the elevator. You have until Monday to decide about the position. As for the rest, well, I suppose we're both terrible at this. Darius didn't sleep. He sat on his couch until sunrise, staring at the job offer letter and replaying Vivienne's word. The text wasn't as misplaced as you think. What did that even mean? The woman who never smiled, who ruled Whitmore Industries with an iron fist, had basically admitted she'd been looking at his photo? None of it made sense. Daddy! Kehlani's small voice broke through his spiral. She stood in her doorway, clutching her stuffed elephant, her braided hair messy from sleep. Why are you awake? Is it school time? Not yet, baby girl. Darius pulled himself together, switching into dad mode. How's your tummy feeling? Better? Kehlani climbed onto the couch next to him, snuggling under his arm. Her eyes landed on the paper in his hands. What's that? Just grown-up stuff. Nothing important. Liar? Kehlani poked his ribs with her tiny finger. You make that face when something's super important, but you don't want me to worry. 6 years old and already too smart for her own good. Darius kissed the top of her head. You're right. Daddy might get a new job. A better one? With more money? Kehlani's eyes lit up. Can we get the cinnamon toast crunch that comes in the big box? He laughed for the first time in hours. Yeah, baby. We can get the big box. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Vivienne. I realize I left rather abruptly. If you have questions about the position, I'm available today, despite it being Saturday. Also, I hope your daughter is feeling better. Darius read the message 3 times. The CEO of a multi-million-dollar company was texting him on a Saturday morning, asking about his sick kid. He typed back, "She's doing better, thank you. I appreciate the offer. Can I ask why me?" The response came immediately. Because you're the only person in that warehouse who looks at people instead of through them, including me. Also, your file photo doesn't do you justice. That probably wasn't professional to say. I'm going to stop texting now. Kehlani peered at his phone. Who's that? Is she pretty? How do you know it's a she? Because you're smiling like Uncle Marcus does when Auntie Keisha sends him kissing emojis. Kehlani giggled. Can I see? Absolutely not. Darius stood up, pocketing his phone. Come on, let's make pancakes. But as he mixed batter and listened to Kehlani sing off-key Disney songs, his mind kept drifting back to Vivienne, standing in his hallway at 3 in the morning, admitting she'd been staring at his photo. The Ice Queen had cracked, and he had no idea what to do about it. Beautiful souls, are you feeling this shift? The universe just rearranged everything for Darius with one accidental text. That's the power of authentic moments, the beauty of unexpected honesty. This is what Race Beyond Voices is all about, breaking down those walls we build around our hearts. Comment below with the craziest coincidence that ever changed your life. Tag someone who needs to know that sometimes the worst mistakes lead to the best chapters. We're building a community of 500 hearts brave enough to believe in destiny. Share your location and let's see where this revolution is spreading. Beyond voices, beyond barriers, beyond limits. We rise together. Monday morning hit Darius like a freight train. He'd spent the entire weekend overthinking everything, analyzing every word of Vivian's text, changing his mind about the job offer 17 times. Kehlani's daycare was closed for teacher training, so he'd brought her to his mom's house before heading to Whitmore Industries to give his answer in person. He decided to take the job. It was the smart choice, the responsible choice. More money meant better opportunities for Kehlani, meant maybe not having to choose between groceries and her dance class fees. The fact that his new boss had admitted to staring at his photo? He'd just pretend that never happened. Professional boundaries. That's what adults did, except adults apparently didn't account for the universe having a sense of humor. Darius walked into the Starbucks across from Whitmore Industries at 8:15 a.m., needing caffeine courage before his meeting. And there, sitting alone at a corner table with a laptop and what looked like a mountain of paperwork, was Vivian. She wore a navy suit that probably cost more than his car, her blonde hair in a sleek ponytail, reading glasses perched on her nose. She looked exhausted. He could leave, pretend he didn't see her, get coffee somewhere else. But then she looked up. Their eyes met, and Darius watched something remarkable happen. Vivian Whitmore smiled, not the tight professional smile he'd seen her use in company meeting, a real one that reached her eyes and made her look about 10 years younger. She waved him over. "Mr. Kellen." She closed her laptop as he approached. "Early morning or nervous about our meeting?" "Both." He gestured to the empty chair. "Mind if I sit? This feels less intimidating than your office." "Please." Vivian moved her papers aside. "And for the record, my office intimidates me too. My father designed it to terrify people. I keep meaning to redecorate, but never find the time." This was surreal. The Ice Queen was making small talk about interior design. Darius sat down, his grande black coffee suddenly feeling inadequate next to her fancy latte with some kind of foam art on top. "I've decided to accept the position." He pulled out the signed offer letter. "Thank you for the opportunity." Vivian took the paper but didn't look at it. She looked at him instead, really looked at him in a way that made his pulse quicken. "Can I be honest about something unprofessional? Seems to be our thing lately." That got another smile. "I didn't just review your file because of your work performance. I reviewed it because 6 months ago you brought your daughter to the company Christmas party. I watched you spend 2 hours making sure every warehouse worker's kid got equal time with Santa, even when your own daughter had to wait. You didn't know I was watching." Darius remembered that day. Kehlani had been patient, understanding why other kids needed to go first. He'd been so proud of her. That's just being a decent human. "That's exactly my point." Vivian's voice dropped to almost a whisper. "I've spent 2 years trying to save my father's company from bankruptcy. 2 years being the villain, making impossible decisions, firing people who had families because keeping them would have meant losing everything. I forgot what decent humans looked like until I saw you with those kids." The coffee shop buzzed with morning rush noise around them, but Darius felt like they were in a bubble. "Vivian, Ms. Whitmore is fine." "No, it's not." He leaned forward. "If we're being honest, I need to tell you something. That text wasn't completely an accident." Her eyes widened. "What?" "I meant to send it to someone else, that's true. But I'd been thinking about you. Ever since that Christmas party, actually. I noticed you standing in the corner watching everyone, looking like you wanted to join in but didn't know how." Darius felt his heart pounding. "I almost came over to talk to you that night, but then I remembered you're my boss, and I'm a single dad, working in a warehouse, and you're so far out of my league, it's not even funny." Vivian stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something that shocked him more than anything else that weekend. She laughed. Not a polite chuckle, a real laugh that made other customers glance over. "Out of your league?" She shook her head. "Darius, I'm a 30-year-old woman who works 16-hour days, has no friends outside of business contacts, and spent last Saturday night reading your personnel file like it was a romance novel. If anyone's out of anyone's league here, it's me reaching for you." They talked for 2 hours. Darius called in late to work, Vivian apparently to herself, and for the first time in 2 years, neither of them cared. They talked about everything, about Kehlani, and how Darius had become a single dad when his ex-girlfriend decided motherhood wasn't for her, about Vivian's father who'd built an empire but forgotten to build a relationship with his daughter, about loneliness and responsibility, and the weight of other people's expectations. Here's my problem. Vivian stirred her third latte, the foam long dissolved. I'm attracted to you, obviously. Embarrassingly so, apparently. But I'm also about to become your direct supervisor. The power dynamic is complicated. Complicated how? Darius asked. Complicated like if we pursue this and it goes wrong, you lose your job and your credibility. People will say you slept your way to a promotion. My board will use it as ammunition to remove me as CEO. Vivian's business voice crept back in. The smart thing is to keep this professional. And what's the dumb thing? The dumb thing is, I say yes when you ask me to dinner. Darius felt his breath catch. I haven't asked you to dinner? You were about to. Those gray eyes pinned him in place. I can see it in your face. You're working up the courage. He was. She was right. Darius had spent the past hour falling for this woman who wasn't anything like the ice queen everyone described. She was funny and vulnerable and so lonely it made his chest ache. And apparently, she'd been falling right back. Dinner Friday night. Darius said it before he could overthink. I'll cook. My place. You can meet Kehlani. You want me to meet your daughter on a first date? Vivian looked stunned. I want you to see my real life. Not the warehouse worker version or the professional version. Just me being a dad who makes spaghetti from a jar and helps with homework and falls asleep during Disney movies. He reached across the table, stopping just short of touching her hand. If that scares you off, better to know now. Vivian looked at his hand hovering near hers. Then she closed the distance, her fingers cool against his warm ones. It doesn't scare me. It's the most honest thing anyone's offered me in years. So that's a yes? That's a yes to dinner. But Darius, we need to be smart about this. No one at work can know. Not yet. Not until we figure out what this is. He understood the logic. He hated it, but he understood. Secret dating the CEO. My life got weird fast. Tell me about it. Vivian squeezed his hand, once then pulled back, professional mask sliding back into place. I should go. Board meeting in an hour. You should probably head to work too. They stood together. At the door, Vivian paused. For what it's worth, that text, best mistake you ever made. Darius watched her walk to her Tesla. Posture perfect, every inch the powerful CEO. But now he knew what was underneath that armor. And he was completely screwed because he was already halfway in love with her. Race Beyond Voices family, do you feel that electricity? Two people from completely different worlds choosing courage over comfort. This is what revolution looks like. It starts with one honest conversation, one moment of vulnerability, one choice to reach across the divide. Drop a heart emoji if you believe in taking risks for love. Comment with your biggest dating risk that paid off. Tag 3 friends who need this reminder that the best connections happen when we stop playing it safe. Share this story everywhere because someone needs to see that love doesn't care about titles or tax bracket. We're building an army of brave hearts. Beyond voices, beyond barriers, beyond limits, we rise together. Friday arrived too fast and too slow. Darius had deep cleaned his apartment 3 times, practiced cooking his spaghetti twice to make sure it wasn't terrible, and had the most awkward conversation of his life with Kehlani about why a friend from work was coming to dinner. Is she your girlfriend? Kehlani had asked while helping him set the table. No, baby. She's just a friend. But you want her to be your girlfriend? Kehlani arranged napkins with the seriousness of a wedding planner. It's okay, Daddy. You're allowed to like someone. Uncle Marcus told me you've been sad for a long time. 6 years old and already reading him like a book. I'm not sad when I'm with you. I know. Kehlani hugged his waist. But you're extra not sad when you text her. I can tell. The doorbell rang at exactly 7. Vivian stood in his doorway, looking nothing like the CEO he knew. She wore jeans, actual jeans, and a simple cream sweater. Her hair was down, falling in soft waves around her shoulders. She held a bottle of wine in one hand and a children's book in the other. I didn't know what to bring. Vivian looked nervous, genuinely nervous, so I brought both. Is that weird? It's perfect. Darius stepped aside to let her in. Fair warning, Kehlani's been interrogating me about you all week. Should I be worried? Terrified. Kehlani appeared from her room like she'd been shot from a cannon. She stopped short when she saw Vivian, taking in everything with those sharp 6-year-old eyes. You're really pretty. like a princess, but the kind that runs a kingdom, not the kind that waits to be rescued. Vivienne blinked, clearly not expecting that. Thank you? That's oddly specific. I read a lot. Kehlani pointed at the book. Is that for me? It is. Vivienne knelt down to Kehlani's level, which surprised Darius. Most adults talk down to kids. Vivienne treated his daughter like an equal. It's about a girl who builds a rocket ship to visit her dad on the moon. I loved it when I was your age. Kehlani took the book reverently. Will you read it to me after dinner? If your dad says it's okay. It's okay. Darius felt something warm spreading through his chest watching them. Come on, dinner's ready. It's just spaghetti, nothing fancy. Dinner was chaos in the best way. Kehlani dominated the conversation, asking Vivienne a million questions about everything from her job to her favorite color to whether she believed in aliens. Vivienne answered every single question seriously, never once patronizing or deflecting. She told stories about growing up in a mansion but being lonely, about her father who loved her but didn't know how to show it, about learning to run a company while everyone waited for her to fail. That sounds hard, Kehlani said through a mouthful of garlic bread. Do people still wait for you to fail? Every single day. That's dumb. Kehlani's loyalty was fierce. My daddy says you're the smartest boss he ever had. He told Uncle Marcus you saved the whole company. Vivienne looked at Darius, something vulnerable in her eyes. He said that? I say a lot of things. Darius cleared his throat. Kehlani, how about you go pick out pajamas while I clean up? Then Ms. Vivienne will read your story. It's just Vivienne, sweetie, Vivienne corrected gently. Ms. makes me feel ancient. Kehlani giggled and ran off to her room. The moment she was gone, the air between Darius and Vivienne shifted, became charged with everything unspoken. She's incredible. Vivienne helped him carry plates to the sink. You're raising an incredible human. I'm trying. Darius rinsed dishes, hyper-aware of her standing close beside him. Thank you for being so good with her. I know this is weird, bringing your boss home to meet your kid on a first date that's not technically a date. It's the best weird I've experienced in years. Vivienne touched his arm, stopping his movements. Darius, I need to tell you something. This week at work, keeping my distance from you, pretending that coffee shop conversation didn't happen, it's been torture. He turned to face her fully. They were close now, close enough that he could see golden flecks in her gray eyes. Yeah? Yeah. Her hand stayed on his arm. I keep finding excuses to walk past the warehouse. Yesterday, I invented a supply audit, just to see you for 5 minutes. I'm turning into a disaster. Good. Darius surprised himself with his boldness, because I've been doing the same thing. Took me 45 minutes to write a 2-sentence email to you about scheduling. The one asking about holiday shift coverage? I already knew the answer. I just wanted a reason to email you. Vivienne laughed, but it died into something more serious. This is crazy, right? We barely know each other. I'm your boss. You have a daughter to think about. Every logical reason says we should stop this before it starts. And yet here you are, in my tiny apartment, about to read bedtime stories. Here I am. Vivienne's voice dropped to a whisper. What are we doing, Darius? I think we're falling. He lifted his hand, giving her every chance to pull away, and brushed a strand of hair from her face. Question is, are we falling together, or are we falling apart? Before Vivienne could answer, Kehlani's voice rang out. I'm ready, and I picked the longest pajamas, so you have to stay longer. They broke apart, both breathing harder than the moment warranted. Vivienne smiled, shaky but real. We should probably continue this conversation later. Probably? But Darius didn't move, didn't want to break whatever spell had wrapped around them. Daddy! Vivienne! Come on! Reality crashed back. They made their way to Kehlani's room, where she'd constructed an elaborate nest of pillows and stuffed animals. Vivienne settled on the floor beside the bed, while Darius leaned against the doorframe, watching as she read about a girl building rockets to reach impossible heights. And he realized something terrifying. He was already in love with her. Completely, irrevocably, stupidly in love with his boss, the ice queen who melted around his daughter, the lonely woman who'd driven across town at 3 a.m. just to be honest. This was going to get messy. But watching Vivienne make different voices for all the characters while Kehlani giggled, Darius decided messy was worth it. Monday morning shattered their fragile bubble. Darius arrived at work to find the warehouse buzzing with tension. Apparently, someone had leaked that major promotions were happening, and everyone had theories about who was getting what. His name wasn't on anyone's list. Heard Whitmore's bringing in outside management. Trevor, a co-worker Darius barely tolerated, leaned against a pallet. Guess hard work doesn't matter when you're not part of the old boys club. Darius kept his mouth shut and focused on inventory counts. He'd start his new position next week, but until then, he was just another warehouse employee. Vivian had insisted on the delayed announcement to avoid suspicion, to make it look like normal corporate promotion timing. He hated the secrecy, hated pretending Friday night hadn't happened, hated that he couldn't text her good morning without worrying about digital paper trails. His phone buzzed. A message from Vivian. "My office. 10 minutes. Official business." Darius climbed the stairs to executive row, feeling like he was walking to his execution. Vivian's assistant waved him through without comment. He knocked once and entered. Vivian sat behind her massive desk, every inch the CEO, but her eyes told a different story. "Close the door." He did. "What's wrong?" "My board got an anonymous tip." Vivian's jaw was tight. "Someone told them I've been seen having personal meetings with a warehouse employee. They're questioning the promotion, demanding an investigation into whether there's a conflict of interest." Darius felt his stomach drop. Who would... Does it matter? Vivian stood, pacing to her window that overlooked the warehouse floor. "They're right to question it. I am promoting someone I'm personally involved with. It looks bad. It is bad. So what are we doing here?" Darius kept his voice level, even as panic clawed at his throat. "You calling it off? The promotion? Or us?" Vivian spun around. "Neither. I'm telling you that this is about to get ugly. They're going to dig into your background, question your qualifications, imply things about how you earned this position. It's going to be humiliating and invasive and unfair." "I can handle unfair." "Can Kehlani?" Vivian's question hit like a punch. "Because they'll bring her into this too. They'll question your character as a father, your stability, your priorities. That's how these things work. They destroy you to get to me." Darius moved closer, not caring if anyone could see through the glass walls. "Then let me go. Give the promotion to someone else. Keep your position secure." "Absolutely not." Vivian's voice turned to steel. "You earned that job. Your qualifications are impeccable. I'm not sacrificing your career because my board are small-minded cowards. But you'll sacrifice whatever this is between us." "I didn't say that." "You're thinking it." Darius could see it in her face, the walls rebuilding brick by brick. "You're thinking it's easier to cut me loose? Keep things professional?" Vivian closed the distance between them, her heels clicking on marble. "You want to know what I'm actually thinking? I'm thinking about how my father built this company on the backs of people like you, people he never saw as equals. I'm thinking about how I promised myself I'd be different, I'd be better." Her eyes blazed. "I'm thinking that if I back down now, if I let them intimidate me into hiding you like you're something shameful, then I'm exactly who they think I am. A coward who only cares about optics." "Vivian?" "No, let me finish." She was close enough now that he could see her pulse jumping in her throat. "I'm thinking that Friday night, watching you with Kehlani, seeing how you've built this beautiful life out of nothing, that's worth fighting for. You're worth fighting for." Darius stared at her. "You understand what you're saying? Going public means everyone knows. No more secrets, no more pretending. Your board, my coworkers, everyone's going to have an opinion. Let them." Vivian reached up, straightening his collar even though it didn't need straightening. "I spent 2 years being the person everyone expected me to be. The Ice Queen, the heartless CEO. I'm done with that. If they want to judge me for falling for a good man who makes his daughter's lunch with love notes inside, then they can get in line behind all the other people waiting for me to fail. This could destroy your career, or it could save my life." Vivian's hand lingered at his collar. "I've been dead inside for years, Darius. You woke me up. I'm not going back to sleep, just because it's convenient." They stood there, the CEO and the warehouse worker, in her office with its glass walls and corporate sterility. And Darius made a choice. "Then we fight." He covered her hand with his. "Together. But we do it smart. We document everything. Make sure there's no question about my qualifications. We face the board, answer their questions, show them there's nothing inappropriate here except 2 adults choosing to date." "Dating?" Vivian smiled slightly. Is that what we're calling this? What would you call it? Terrifying, exhilarating, completely illogical. Her fingers threaded through his. The best decision I never planned to make. A knock on the door made them spring apart. Vivian's assistant poked her head in. "Ms. Whitmore, your 2 o'clock is here." "Thank you, Janet. I'll be right there." Vivian waited until the door closed. "We'll schedule a board meeting for Wednesday. We'll present everything transparently. Let them ask their questions." "And after?" Darius asked. "After, you start your new job, and we figure out how to be together without letting corporate politics destroy us." Vivian walked him to the door, maintaining professional distance. "Darius, thank you for not running. Thank you for not letting me go." He paused at the threshold. "See you Wednesday. Try not to terrify the board too much before then." "No promises." Darius left her office with his heart pounding and his future uncertain. But for the first time in 6 months, maybe years, he felt alive. Whatever happened next, at least it would be real. Beautiful souls of race beyond voices, did you feel that courage? That's what love looks like when it refuses to hide, when it stands up against systems designed to keep people separated. Vivienne just chose truth over comfort, chose Darius over her career security. This is revolutionary love in action. Drop your location and tell us about a time you stood up for someone when it wasn't easy. Tag someone who needs this reminder that real love fights back. Share this story with everyone because the world needs to see that some connections are worth the battle. We're not just telling stories, we're starting a movement. Beyond voices, beyond barriers, beyond limits, we rise together. Wednesday's board meeting felt like walking into a courtroom. Vivian had warned Darius it would be hostile, but nothing prepared him for the actual experience. 12 board members sat around a mahogany table that probably cost more than his annual salary, all eyes fixed on him with varying degrees of suspicion and contempt. Vivian stood at the head of the table, spine straight, voice clear. "Gentlemen and Ms. Patterson, thank you for agreeing to this meeting. I want to address the concerns raised about Mr. Kellen's promotion directly and transparently." Transparently. Richard Whitmore, Vivian's father, spoke for the first time. He'd been silent since Darius entered, but now his attention was laser-focused. "Is that what we're calling this situation? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like my daughter is compromising company integrity for personal reasons." Darius felt Vivian stiffen beside him, but her voice remained steady. "Mr. Kellen's promotion is based entirely on merit. I have documentation of his performance reviews, his innovations in warehouse logistics, his leadership during the network crash last month. His qualifications exceed those of every other candidate we considered." "And the personal relationship?" Ms. Patterson, the only other woman in the room, leaned forward. "When did that begin relative to your decision to promote him?" "After." Vivian didn't hesitate. "I identified Mr. Kellen as a promotion candidate 6 months ago. I began the formal review process 3 months ago. Our personal connection began 2 weeks ago when he accidentally sent me a text message meant for someone else." A few board members smirked. Richard Whitmore's expression darkened. How convenient. An accidental text. Actually, it was mortifying. Darius spoke for the first time. Every head swiveled toward him. "I thought I was getting fired. Ms. Whitmore showed up at my apartment at 3 in the morning to clarify the situation. Nothing inappropriate happened. She offered me the promotion. I went home and thought about it for 3 days, then accepted." "And when did the relationship become romantic?" Another board member, someone Darius didn't recognize, asked the question like he was cross-examining a criminal. "After I accepted the position." Darius kept his voice even. "We had coffee that Monday morning. We talked. We discovered we had more in common than a professional relationship. She came to dinner at my apartment that Friday to meet my daughter." "Your daughter?" Richard leaned back in his chair. "How old?" 6. "And you thought it appropriate to introduce a woman you barely knew to your child after 1 week?" Richard's judgment dripped from every word. "That shows questionable parenting judgment, wouldn't you say?" Darius felt anger flare hot in his chest, but Vivian's hand touched his arm briefly, a silent message to stay calm. He took a breath. "With respect, sir, I introduced my daughter to a woman who spent 2 hours making sure she felt comfortable and safe, a woman who brought her a book and read her bedtime stories, a woman who treated her with more genuine kindness than most adults show children." He paused. "And yes, a woman I'm falling in love with. I won't apologize for wanting my daughter to know the person I'm choosing to spend time with." The room went silent. Vivienne's face remained neutral, but Darius saw something flash in her eyes. He'd just said he was falling in love with her, in front of her entire board. No taking it back now. Richard stood abruptly. "This is exactly the problem. You're making decisions based on emotion, not logic. Both of you." He pointed at Vivienne. "You're risking this company's reputation for what? A warehouse worker? A human being?" Vivienne's voice cracked like a whip. "A father, a leader, a man who has more integrity in his little finger than half this board combined." She stood to face her father directly. "And yes, someone I care about. Someone who sees me as a person, not just a CEO or a Whitmore or a means to an end." "Vivienne?" Richard's voice held warning. "No, Dad, you don't get to do this." Vivienne's composure finally cracked. "You spent my entire childhood telling me emotions were weakness, that personal connections compromise business judgment. You know what that got me? 30 years of loneliness. 30 years of wondering if anyone would ever want me if I wasn't rich and powerful." She gestured to Darius. "This man wanted me when he thought I was going to fire him. He wants me despite my money, despite this company, despite every logical reason he should run the other direction. And you want me to throw that away because it looks bad?" Richard's jaw worked. "I want you to protect what I built. I am protecting it." Vivienne's voice turned to ice. "By being a human being instead of a corporate machine, by showing our employees that we value merit over politics, by refusing to participate in a system that says people from different backgrounds can't connect." She looked around the table. "Mr. Kellen earned his promotion. The timeline is documented. His qualifications are verified. If any of you have actual evidence of impropriety, present it now. Otherwise, this meeting is over." Ms. Patterson spoke up. "I've reviewed the documentation. Everything appears legitimate." She looked at Darius with something that might have been respect. "For what it's worth, Mr. Kellen, your performance metrics are exceptional. I would have recommended you for promotion based on the numbers alone." "Thank you." Darius nodded to her. "This isn't over." Richard gathered his papers. "The optics alone could damage our reputation. Shareholders will have questions. Then we'll answer them." Vivienne didn't back down. "Honestly and completely, just like we answered yours." Richard left without another word. 3 board members followed him. The remaining 8 stayed seated, exchanging glances. "Ms. Whitmore," an older gentleman at the far end spoke carefully. "I've known you since you were a child. I've watched you save this company from bankruptcy through sheer will and intelligence. If you say this man earned his position, I believe you." He looked at Darius. "But you should know, son, that you'll be under a microscope. Every decision, every mistake will be scrutinized. People will question whether you truly earned your place or slept your way into it." "I understand, sir." Darius met his gaze steadily. "And I'll prove them wrong every single day. Not for them, for myself, for my daughter, and for Ms. Whitmore, who took a risk on me when no one else saw my potential." The meeting dissolved after that. Board members filed out, some offering cautious congratulations, others remaining silent. Finally, only Vivienne and Darius remained in the massive conference room. "You said you were falling in love with me." Vivienne's voice was quiet, in front of everyone. "I did." Darius's heart hammered. "Bad timing?" "Terrible timing." She turned to face him. "Also, possibly, the bravest thing anyone's ever done for me." "I meant it. Every word." Vivienne crossed the distance between them. "I'm falling, too. So hard it terrifies me. I have no idea how to do this, how to be someone's partner when I've spent my entire life being alone." "We'll figure it out." Darius reached for her hand. "Together, one disaster at a time." She laughed, watery and real. "My father hates you." "Yeah, I got that impression." "He'll come around. Eventually. Maybe." Vivienne squeezed his hand. "Are you sure about this? Really sure? Because it's only going to get harder from here." "I'm terrified," Darius admitted, "but I'm also happier than I've been in years. Keelani asked me this morning why I was singing while making breakfast. I haven't sung in the morning since her mother left." He pulled Vivienne closer. "You did that? You made me remember what joy feels like." "You did the same for me." Vivienne rested her forehead against his. "So we fight. Together." "Together?" Darius echoed. They stood there in the empty boardroom, 2 people from different worlds choosing each other, despite every logical reason not to. And for the first time since this chaos began, Darius felt something solid beneath his feet. Not certainty, not ease, but partnership. And that was enough. The email hit company-wide at 9 a.m. Thursday morning. Vivian's assistant had crafted it carefully, but the message was clear. Darius Kellen was being promoted to warehouse operations manager, effective immediately. His qualifications were listed in detail, and at the bottom, a single line that changed everything. Full transparency. Ms. Whitmore and Mr. Kellen have begun a personal relationship. All appropriate HR protocols have been followed. Darius's phone exploded with texts, supportive coworkers, confused friends, his mother demanding to know why she hadn't heard about this CEO woman sooner. But the warehouse floor was where things got real. He arrived for his first day in his new role to find the staff split. Half congratulated him genuinely, the other half whispered just loud enough for him to hear. Sleeping his way up. Diversity hire gone wrong. Wonder how long before she gets bored. Trevor was the loudest. Must be nice, Kellen. Some of us have to actually work for promotions instead of charming our way into the boss's bed. Darius stopped walking. Every instinct screamed to punch Trevor's smug face, but he'd promised Vivian they'd handle this professionally. He turned slowly. You got something to say to me, Trevor? Say it to my face, not behind my back where you've been saying it for the past hour. Trevor stood up from his forklift. Fine. You didn't earn this. Everyone knows it. Whitmore's slumming it with warehouse trash, and you're cashing in. Don't pretend this is about merit. The warehouse went silent. Everyone stopped working to watch. You're right about one thing. Darius stepped closer. I am warehouse trash. Been working these floors since I was 19. Dropped out of college when my girlfriend got pregnant and bailed. Raised my daughter in a one-bedroom apartment while working double shifts to keep food on the table. He let his voice carry to every corner. I reorganized this entire warehouse system when everyone said it couldn't be done. I increased efficiency by 40%. I trained half the people in this room, including you, Trevor, when you were too scared to admit you couldn't read the inventory codes. Trevor's face flushed red. Ms. Whitmore saw that work. She saw that merit. And yeah, we started dating. But I earned this position 6 months before I ever sent that accidental text. Darius looked around at everyone watching. Anyone else got questions about my qualifications? About whether I belong here? Line up. I'll answer every single one. Silence. Then Maria, who'd worked in shipping for 20 years, started clapping. Slowly, others joined. Not everyone, but enough. Trevor stormed off. Darius let him go. He had work to do. That evening, Vivian showed up at his apartment unannounced. Darius opened the door to find her leaning against the frame, still in her work clothes, but looking exhausted. Rough day? He pulled her inside. Understatement. Vivian collapsed on his couch. 3 board members called for emergency meetings. My father sent 17 emails about damage control. And somehow our relationship made the local business news. I saw. Darius sat beside her. They used my employee photo, made me look like a criminal. They used my worst corporate headshot, made me look like I eat souls for breakfast. Vivian leaned her head on his shoulder. How was your first day? About what you'd expect. Half the warehouse thinks I'm a hero. The other half thinks I'm a fraud. He told her about the confrontation with Trevor. Vivian listened, then lifted her head to look at him. You defended yourself. That's good. Defended us, Darius corrected. I'm not letting anyone cheapen what we have. Not Trevor, not your board, not the gossip blogs. My hero. Vivian said it lightly, but her eyes were serious. Where's Kaylani? She looked around. Sleepover at my mom's. Apparently she's been bragging to her grandmother about her dad's princess girlfriend. Darius smiled. My mom wants to meet you, by the way. Fair warning, she's terrifying. More terrifying than my father? Different category of terrifying. Mom terrifying is worse because you actually care what she thinks. Vivian laughed. Then her expression shifted to something vulnerable. Darius, what if this doesn't work? What if the pressure gets too intense and we implode? Then we implode. He took her hand. But at least we tried. At least we chose each other when it mattered. That's not a very reassuring answer. I'm not here to reassure you. I'm here to be real with you. Darius pulled her closer. Real means acknowledging this is hard, that people are judging us, that your father might never approve, that my daughter might get caught in the crossfire of other people's opinions. He kissed her forehead. It also means acknowledging that I've never felt this way about anyone, that you make me want to be better, that watching you fight for us in that boardroom made me fall even harder. Vivienne's eyes were bright with unshed tears. I don't know how to do this, how to be vulnerable, how to let someone see me like this. You're doing it right now. Darius wiped a tear that escaped. And you're doing great. They sat there in his tiny apartment, the warehouse worker and the CEO, choosing each other in the face of everyone's judgment. Outside, the world would keep criticizing. Inside, they were building something real. Stay tonight? Darius said softly. Kehlani's gone. We can just be us. No titles, no pressure. Just two people who like each other figuring this out. Vivienne nodded against his shoulder. Okay. They ordered terrible Chinese food and watched a movie neither of them paid attention to. They talked about everything and nothing. And when Vivienne fell asleep on his couch, head in his lap, Darius looked down at her peaceful face and knew with absolute certainty, whatever happened next, she was worth every battle. Beautiful souls of race beyond voices, this is what courage looks like. Darius stood in front of his entire workplace and declared his worth. Vivienne fought her own father and the board for the right to choose her own path. This isn't just romance. This is revolution. Two people refusing to let society's expectations dictate their happiness. Drop a fire emoji if you've ever had to defend your relationship. Comment with your story of choosing love over approval. Tag 5 people who need this reminder that the right person is worth fighting for. Share this everywhere because someone is struggling with this exact choice right now. We're not just building an audience, we're building a movement of brave hearts who choose love over fear. Beyond voices, beyond barriers, beyond limits, we rise together. 3 months later, Darius stood in Vivienne's newly redecorated office. She'd finally changed it, replaced her father's. Intimidation tactics with warmth, plants on the windowsill, photos on her desk, one of Kehlani hugging her at the company picnic. You ready for this? Vivienne asked, straightening his tie. As ready as I'll ever be. Today was the shareholders' meeting, the big one, where they'd present quarterly results and face questions about leadership decisions, including the controversial promotion and relationship. Kehlani sat in a chair nearby, swinging her legs and coloring. She'd insisted on coming to support Daddy and Vivienne. His mother had agreed to wait in the lobby. Backup if things got too intense. You look handsome, Kehlani announced. Like a prince, but the working kind. Thanks, baby girl. Darius kissed the top of her head. The meeting was brutal at first. Richard Whitmore presented concerns about company image. Some shareholders questioned whether personal relationships compromised leadership. But then Vivienne stood up with a presentation that changed everything. She showed Darius's warehouse innovations, the efficiency increases, the employee satisfaction scores that had skyrocketed under his management, the cost savings that translated to a 12% profit increase. Then she showed something unexpected. Anonymous employee testimonials. Mr. Kellen taught me to read inventory codes when I was too embarrassed to ask. He stayed overnight to help me fix a mistake that would have gotten me fired. He makes everyone feel like they matter. The room fell silent. Vivienne continued. Darius Kellen represents everything this company should be. Hard work, integrity, compassion. He earned his position. And yes, we're in a relationship. But that relationship began because I saw in him what this entire company is seeing now. Exceptional character. She pulled up one final slide, a graph showing employee retention, productivity, and morale, all climbing steadily since Darius's promotion. These numbers don't lie. Mr. Kellen isn't compromising this company. He's making it better. And if shareholders have a problem with me dating someone who improves every metric we measure, then perhaps you need different leadership. It was a risk, a massive risk. Vivienne was essentially daring them to remove her. Richard stood slowly. The room held its breath. My daughter is right. Everyone stared. Richard continued, his voice rough. I built this company on fear and control. I taught Vivienne to do the same. It nearly destroyed her, and it nearly destroyed what I built. He looked at Darius. Mr. Kellen, I owe you an apology. I judged you based on titles instead of character. That was wrong. Darius stood, stunned. Sir, let me finish. Richard's voice cracked slightly. I watched my daughter become a machine. Efficient, Ruthless, successful, but empty. Then you came along and reminded her she's human. The changes in this company, the improved culture, the better. Retention? That's not just your work. That's what happens when my daughter remembers how to care about people. He turned to Vivian. I'm proud of you, truly proud, not for the profits, though those are excellent, for choosing happiness over my approval. Vivian's eyes filled with tears. Dad, I'm stepping down from the board. Richard said it clearly. Effective today. This company needs leadership that sees people as people. You and Mr. Kellen provide that. I'll just get in the way. The room erupted in discussion. Some shareholders objected. Most looked thoughtful. Ms. Patterson stood. I move that we accept Mr. Whitmore's resignation and formally express our confidence in Ms. Whitmore's leadership, including her hiring and personal decisions. Seconded. Another shareholder raised his hand. The vote was decisive, 73% in favor. After the meeting, Richard approached Darius privately. My daughter loves you. I can see it. She lights up when you walk in a room. I love her too, sir, Darius said simply. Good. Richard extended his hand. Take care of her. And that little girl who's been glaring at me like I'm the villain in her storybook. Darius shook his hand. Kehlani's protective. She gets it from me. She gets it from loving her father. Richard smiled slightly. Family dinner this Sunday, my house. Bring both of them. Let's start over. That evening, Darius, Vivian, and Kehlani celebrated with pizza in his apartment. Kehlani had convinced Vivian to sit on the floor and build a blanket fort. This is ridiculous. Vivian laughed as the structure collapsed for the third time. This is important, Kehlani corrected seriously. Forts are where families bond. Families, Vivian repeated softly, looking at Darius over Kehlani's head. Yeah, Darius felt his throat tighten. Family. Later, after Kehlani fell asleep in her fort, Darius and Vivian sat on the couch watching her peaceful breathing. Your father apologized. Vivian still sounded shocked. I know. I was there. Darius pulled her close. You were incredible today. That presentation, standing up to the shareholders, everything. I was terrified. You were brave. There's a difference. He kissed her temple. Thank you for fighting for us, for not giving up when it got hard. Thank you for being worth fighting for. Vivian turned to face him. I need to tell you something. I'm in love with you. Completely, terrifyingly in love with you. And with that little girl in the blanket fort who told my father he needed to fix his mean face. Darius laughed. She really said that? In front of 3 board members. Vivian's smile was radiant. I've never been more proud. I love you too. Darius cupped her face. I love that you read bedtime stories in different voices. I love that you brought plants to your office. I love that you're wearing jeans right now instead of a power suit. I love every version of you, Ice Queen and Warm Human, and everything in between. They kissed, soft and sweet, in the glow of the TV and the fairy lights Kehlani had strung in her fort. What happens now? Vivian asked against his lips. Now we live. Darius pulled back to look at her. We work hard. We raise Kehlani. We navigate your father's family dinners and my mother's interrogations. We deal with gossip and judgment and people who still don't think we belong together. He smiled. And we love each other through all of it. That sounds perfect. Vivian settled against his chest. Kehlani stirred in her sleep, mumbling something about princesses and rockets. Darius watched his daughter and the woman he loved, both here in his tiny apartment that suddenly felt like everything he needed. 3 months ago, he'd sent an accidental text that changed his life, not because it led to a promotion or money or status, because it led to this, to love that broke through barriers, to family that chose each other, to revolution that started with one honest moment. Hey, Vivian? Darius whispered. Best mistake I ever made. She smiled against his shirt. Mine too. Outside, the world kept spinning, but inside this small apartment, 3 people had found something revolutionary. Acceptance that transcended differences, love that conquered prejudice, and dignity that rose from humility. This was healing. This was transformation. This was what happened when people chose courage over comfort. And this was just the beginning. Beautiful souls of the Race Beyond Voices family, you've just witnessed a complete transformation, from one accidental text to a love that changed an entire company culture, from prejudice and judgment to acceptance and family. This is what revolution looks like. It starts with one brave choice, one honest moment, one person willing to fight for what matters. Darius and Vivian didn't just fall in love. They revolutionized how an entire corporation sees people. They proved that worth isn't about titles or backgrounds, it's about character and courage. Share your location right now and tell us, what's your accidental moment that changed everything? Tag 10 people who need this reminder that the best things in life often start with mistakes. Drop a heart if you believe love conquers all barriers. Share this story everywhere because someone out there needs to see that their love story, no matter how unconventional, is worth fighting for. We're not just building an audience of 500, we're building an army of hearts brave enough to choose love over fear, dignity over humiliation, and acceptance over prejudice. This is Race Beyond Voices. This is our revolution. Beyond voices, beyond barriers, beyond limits, we rise together. Now go forth and love fearlessly.